Diplomatic flight in the Himalayas goes down. Empire Strikes Back type Yeti comes up, pops in and out of the frame like Jaws, tears it apart. You're the special forces guy that's got to go in, and we'll call it Snowblind. That's the one. And then he goes like this. He goes.
Oh, hey guys. I'm surprised I never heard about this. This movie would have been amazing had they made it, especially when Seagal was in his prime in the 90s. Imagine the kind of production values this movie would have had. Imagine how entertaining it would have been. Steven Seagal versus the Abominable Snowman, the Yeti. So I found out about this on the Joe Blow movie website. I'm going to go ahead and share some of the details with the plot, and they talked about some screenwriter that was involved who had a podcast. I'll put some clips of what he was talking about related to the Steven Seagal project when he was at the height of his popularity and fame working with Warner Brothers. So we got to remember though, this wouldn't have been the first time Seagal fought the supernatural. In 2009 against the Dark, he fought vampires.
Vampire hunters.
Ex-military guys were trained to kill.
Led by a master swordsman.
We're here to decide who lives and dies.
Such a cool guy.
And he wasn't the first martial artist who ever fought vampires, by the way. Of course, we had Wesley Snipes in the Blade trilogy, but before that, Don the Dragon Wilson in Night Hunter. Anyway, a lot of great martial artists fought vampires in movies, but I don't think any of them fought the Abominable Snowman. There was actually another project Universal was going to put out called Abominable. That was going to star Jean-Claude Van Damme, and they described it as Predator in the Snow. A couple of really good directors were brought up to actually helm the project too, including Rennie Harlan, who did Cliffhanger with Sylvester Stallone, and also Peter Hyams, who worked on two Van Damme classics, Time Cop and also Sudden Death. And the story would have seen a United Nations task force investigating the mysterious disappearance of Red Cross workers in the Himalayas. Needless to say, they encountered more than soldiers from the People's Republic of China. So, of course, the missing Red Cross workers ran into the snowman. That could have been interesting, but of course, they never ended up making that, unfortunately. And I've heard of that project before, but I had never heard of this Steven Seagal one. Okay, so Seagal's own Yeti project titled Snowblind was set up at Warner Brothers. Speaking on a podcast, screenwriter Ethan Dettenmaier recently revealed exactly how Snowblind came about.
He's got like this room with like this long table that ends with like a big velvet red throne, and he shows up in like his black pajamas like he's a member of the Viet Cong.
Such a cool guy.
Dettenmaier went to Seagal's house to meet with him about a different project that Seagal ended up turning down because some people he knew in the Black Ops community would be upset with him if he made the movie.
I presented him the Night Fever script, and he goes, I like this script. I go, so we're good. We're in agreement. We can move forward. I can't make this movie. Some people I know in Southeast Asia are very upset with me if I do this movie in the Black Ops communities.
Instead, he wanted to make a horror movie and told Dettenmaier, if you can write like I write, then you should have a script to me in about 24 hours. On the podcast, Dettenmaier says Seagal got wind that we knew some of the members of the group in Vogue.
And he really wanted to rope them into some kind of co-starring role, which was really awkward at the way that was presented. But
I go, I'm not getting you a script in 24 hours, but I'll get you some ideas.
Like 2 or 3 days later, he calls me and goes, so what do you have for me?
And I go down this list of ideas. Start with the strong ones. They're all horror-based ideas, Corman-esque. I get to the last one, it's probably the weakest. When you're trying to round out a list of content, you're going to have the powerful ones up front. You're going to want to sound extensive. So you start getting weaker and weaker and weaker as the list progresses.
What does this have to do with military intelligence?
I get to the last, item number 25, right? And I go, okay. Diplomatic flight in the Himalayas goes down. Empire Strikes Back type Yeti comes up, pops in and out of the frame like Jaws, tears it apart. You're the special forces guy that's got to go in, and we'll call it Snowblind. That's the one. And then he goes like this. He goes, and those creatures do exist. And the reason nobody sees them is because they have the ability to transcend dimensions.
I don't know if Seagal was just messing with the guy or if he really believes it.
Fuck, that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. So I said, he's testing me. He wants to see if I'm a yes man or if I'm going to stand up and be like, whoa, that's dumb.
I do believe that Bigfoot, the Abominable Snowman, Yeti, I do believe that exists.
Who are
the fuck is this cherry?
And I'm not opposed to believing that it could be interdimensional.
So I just turned around and I go, Steven, if that's what you want, it's my job to make it work on the page.
I'm gonna ask Steven Seagal about this. I'm gonna show him this article and that guy's podcast, and ask Seagal's like, were you serious about the snowman and the Yeti, the Abominable Snowman, like them being interdimensional, or were you just messing with the dude? So anyway, let me know in the comments section if this is a movie that you would have wanted to see, and if whether you believe in the Abominable Snowman or not.